We all think about the legacy we're going to leave behind, the stories we tell, the lessons for our kids. But what if our most powerful legacy isn't something we say, but something we build? Today, we're going to dive into this really deep connection between our own dreams, our very human flaws, and the incredible, intelligent machines we are creating in our own image. So, to get started, I want you to meet Professor Randy Pausch. Back in 2007, he was a computer science professor at Carnegie Mellon, a husband, a father of 3 little kids. And he was also diagnosed with terminal cancer. Now, what's really amazing is what he did next. He decided to give one last lecture. And it wasn't about dying, it was about living. He actually framed it like an engineering problem. I mean, his kids were just 5, 2, and 1, way too young for those big life conversations. So he had this idea. He decided to put himself in a bottle, something that would, one day wash ashore for them. It was his version of painting a picture or composing a song. He was a lecturer, so he gave a lecture. But that lecture wasn't just for his kids. It really taps into something way more universal, this fundamental human need we all have to create something that lasts, to leave a piece of ourselves behind. Think about it for a second. A painter's brushstrokes, they totally reveal their passion. A writer's words carry their unique perspective. And today, right now, a programmer's code, their algorithm, well, that carries their logic, their values, and, as we're about to see, their flaws. Every single thing we create is a kind of self-portrait. So, Posh structured his whole lecture around achieving his childhood dreams. But there was a hidden lesson tucked inside, a concept he called a head fake. And this idea is absolutely crucial for understanding how we imprint ourselves onto everything we create. And you can see those raw, unfiltered dreams right here. How cool is this? His parents actually let him paint all over his bedroom walls. You can see a quadratic formula, a submarine, and this, an elevator. He said later he wondered, if he was such a big dreamer, why'd the elevator only go up to the 3rd floor? Maybe, he figured, it was about finding that balance between dreaming big and being practical. And this is just a brilliant illustration of the leap we're making right now. We've gone from painting dreams on a wall to literally building them into reality. Our collective childhood dream today isn't an elevator to the 3rd floor. It's creating artificial intelligence, machines that can actually think and learn. Okay, so here's that key concept, the head fake. Posh said that, when we send our kids out to play football, we don't really care if they learn the perfect spiral. The real lesson, the head fake, is all about teamwork, perseverance, and learning how to deal with a little adversity. It's such a powerful and positive way to teach. But here's where our story takes a bit of a turn, because the head fake isn't always something we do on purpose, and it isn't always a good thing. When we build our intelligent machines, we are teaching them so much more than we realize. This is the central question, isn't it? What happens when that indirect lesson, the thing our creations learn from us without us even knowing it, isn't about perseverance, but about our prejudice? What if the head fake is actually a bug, not a feature? Well, research shows that as humans, we are just wired with these things called cognitive biases. They're basically mental shortcuts our brains use to make decisions fast. For instance, we might give more weight to information that confirms what we already believe. Now, these shortcuts can be helpful, but they often lead to some seriously flawed reasoning. And the tricky part is, we all have them, and a lot of the time, we're not even aware they're there. And this right here is how those human flaws become machine flaws. At every single stage of building an AI, our own biases can just creep right in. Take pre-training. That's when we gather all the data. Our own confirmation bias might lead us to pick data that just supports what we think. Then, during in-processing, when the model is actually learning, overconfidence can make us ignore potential errors. And finally, in post-processing, after it's built, the way we frame the results can reflect our own social biases. Basically, our blind spots are becoming the machine's blind spot. So the crucial point is this. Our algorithms, these incredible tools we're building, are learning from us. They're learning our best intentions for sure, but they're also learning our worst, most deeply ingrained prejudices. That unintended lesson is getting baked right into the code. So, how do we fix this? Well, it is not easy. And to really get the challenge, we can turn back to another one of Randy Pausch's really powerful metaphors, the brick wall. Pausch believed that brick walls aren't there to keep us out. No, they're there to give us a chance to prove how much we want something. They separate the people who really, really want it from everybody else. And this is just a perfect way to frame the challenges in fixing AI. And this slide lays out the specific brick walls that researchers are running up against right now. First off, it's really hard to translate a vague human bias into a specific machine learning problem. Second, how do you even measure it? We don't have clear metrics. Third, sometimes when we try to fix one bias, we accidentally create a whole new one. And finally, all of this points to the absolute critical need for constant human oversight. So what this really tells us is that debugging AI bias isn't just about writing better code. It's about confronting our own limitations. These are human problems that are being reflected in our technology, and they require that same kind of human perseverance that Pausch was talking about to overcome them. So if we see these brick walls as opportunities, then the question becomes, what tools do we actually have to start climbing over them? The research gives us a pretty clear toolkit. It starts with pre-processing. We can clean and balance the data before the machine even sees it. Then there's in-processing. We can actually build fairness directly into the learning algorithms themselves. After that, post-processing. We can adjust the model's outputs to make sure the outcomes are fair. And holding it all together is the most critical tool of all, keeping a human in the loop, always checking, guiding, and correcting the system. And this brings us right back to that idea of legacy. See, it's not just about what we create by accident. A true legacy is built on what we choose to fix. It means looking hard at the flaws we've unintentionally passed down and making a conscious, dedicated effort to make them right. You know, in the end, this was the real core of Randy Pausch's legacy for his children. It wasn't just the lecture or the memories, it was the fight. He wanted them to know that he signed up for the hardest treatments, that he fought with everything he had. That effort, that perseverance against the ultimate brick wall, that was the legacy. So as we build these new worlds of artificial intelligence, we have to ask ourselves that same question. It's not enough to just create something. The real test, the legacy we will all be judged by, is how hard we're willing to fight to fix our own reflection in the machine. What unintended lessons are you teaching, and what will you do to make them right?